The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University. Hello and welcome to The Art Beat on KLZK 105.7 FM. I'm your host, Peter Martins, coming to you from the Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University. Good to be with you this weekend. And I'm very happy to have as a special guest, also very much from the Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts, our dean, and one of our very first repeat guests. He launched this show, The Art Beat, quite a while ago. And I'm happy to welcome back to the show Dean Martin Camacho.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be back.
Well, thank you for agreeing to talk to us, and I think we have a fairly broad-ranging conversation in store for our listeners today, just getting your view on the big picture, some initiatives in the college, maybe the arts situation in the country and maybe world in general. So I wanted to start off at the local level with our college and with its 4 units, as we say, the 3 schools and then the department. So I'm just going to open the floor and let you talk through things that are happening that you're excited about with the college overall.
Well, thank you, Peter. And yeah, this is an exciting time for the Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts. As you mentioned, now we have 4 units. The 4th unit is a relatively new unit. You should know it. You chair it. Is our very own Department of Interdisciplinary Arts. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about what the future of the arts is in general, that's obviously a very difficult question to answer in terms of not only locally but nationally and in the world context. But we can say this, that the Department of Interdisciplinary Arts in many ways represents one of the trends that we see in the arts as being a consolidation and participation of all the arts into what's going to be the future of the creation for the different arts disciplines. That is not to say that what we have called thus far, or what we now consider the traditional arts, are going to continue strong and are going to continue growing. There's always going to be a place for, the stereotypical pianists, if there's such a thing.
Such as yourself.
If there's such a thing, because, the pianists are also evolving in terms of repertoire, in terms of engagement with the community. There's always going to be a place for painters, sculptors, what we have called the fine arts in the past. But at the same time, we realize that our students are bringing that type of creativity, interest, and curiosity about, more than one thing.
Right.
So, and there's nothing wrong with it, and I think it's everything positive with it. And I think that not only the Department of Interdisciplinary Arts, but the schools themselves are realizing that, and we are responding rapidly to those interests with new and innovating programs. For instance, in the School of Art, this is where I get in trouble because I start mentioning specific programs and then I forget others, but this is just an example. Mm-hmm. The example is the the program of Digital Narrative Arts, that incorporates in many ways, the traditional formation of a solid artist in the visual arts alongside with the latest technologies in terms of computer generation and creation of artistic content.
Sure.
At the same time, for instance, in the case of the School of Music, we have now a growing and thriving jazz program within our walls.
Right.
It isn't that it didn't exist before, but now it's thriving and is growing and is very much in sync with what it's now commercial music, for instance, pushing the lines back and forth. And at the same time, for instance, in the Department of Theater, now we have a growing musical theater program. And anyone can say, well, musical theater has been here for a long time. Of course, and it will continue to be here for a long time. But at the same time, we have this seamless collaboration between the Department of Theater and the School of Music, creating a program that is unique, that is solid, that is resounding for our students because it brings the best of 3 areas: theater, dance, and music. So again, this combination of the arts in the profile of the student is something that I anticipate that we're going to continue seeing.
Right. It sounds like what you're saying, some of these programs, thinking of music theater, for instance, that these are art forms. These are things that the community and the population at large is aware of, but academically they tended to fall between things or in the cracks or whatever. And from what you're saying, it sounds like we're building those more purposely into the structure of the college and into the curricula, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct. And this is also in the context of an evolving world, obviously, in terms of technologies. AI these days represents a challenge not only for the arts, but for every other aspect, every career in academia these days. So also thinking about how these tools are going to interface within our creativity, within our artistic output, is something that we are very much at the forefront. I think that the conversation amongst the higher administration in every academic college is how and what is going to be the impact and the right place of these technologies within the creative continuum.
Right.
We understand and we hope that this is not going to be a replacement type of situation. It'll never be. Human creativity at the source, it's always human generated, not machine generated. So, but at the same time, we are going to be struggling over the next few years to find what is going to be the right place and the right mix, so to speak, that is going to bring us into our classrooms. I think that many alumni are reporting today across the nation that one of the biggest challenges that they're having is how to situate AI within their workplace. And so the universities have to respond to that so that we need to prepare generations to come as to what's going to be the answer and equip them with tools to use AI ethically and responsibly in the future.
Right. One of the things you run into is the idea that, we always have tools, right? Artists have tools, people in business or whatever have tools. This is just another tool. But it sounds like what you're saying, you focus on the creativity angle, that our goal always as artists has been and will continue to be connecting with audiences and telling stories. And so what might this new technology help with? What might this new technology hinder with? And then in those cases, we don't engage with it. But it is interesting to look at some of the higher ed landscape to shift gears a tiny bit and see a lot of opinions out there now that creativity is really what employers are valuing in products of university education, whatever their major is, right? It's creativity at the focus. And I think it seems like we have a very good opportunity maybe at this moment to say, hey, this is what our graduates do really well. They may use AI as a tool or there may be part of that in the mix there, but their value, so to speak, to our economy, to be very economic about it for a second, is the creative training that we give them.
And that is what I think that the artistic disciplines are going to have an advantage, and our graduates certainly have an advantage from the get-go in terms of the fact that at the college we train them to think creatively, what many think or what many call thinking outside the box. Certainly our disciplines push the boundary in many ways, and that is because we need to provide with new answers to all problems all the time.
Okay.
And that is really the history of humanity in a nutshell when you think of it, right? We should never be afraid of new technologies because at the end of a story, just like you mentioned, the human is the one who drives it. The person is the one who drives its creativity, and telling these stories, telling the human experience is at the end of a story what's going to happen. I can't begin to think any number of stories about how these technologies happen. For instance, more than 300 years ago when the piano came about, for instance, and before the piano there was only clavichords and clavecins. And most of the repertoire was written for those instruments, and piano came to be first a very weak instrument, which incidentally became a much stronger instrument. So the transition at the end of the story, nobody dared to say, well, it was a disadvantage that we lost an instrument and we gained another.
Right.
It only added on to the experience and the tools that we have to tell stories and to portray the human experience. So at the end of the story, creativity is going to continue to be the driving force until humanity ceases to exist. I hope that we never see that moment.
Right, same.
But at the end of the story, this is where our graduates have an advantage.
Right. So zooming in maybe a tiny bit to the university itself here, we are situated as an arts college, a fine arts college. We are known as the VPA, the Visual and Performing Arts College at Texas Tech. Obviously, there's been in recent years considerable enrollment growth, right, in the state of Texas overall, certainly at the institution of Texas Tech. And there's been a push toward certain designations for the university, research designations and these other statuses that large universities strive for. How do you see the Talkington College fitting into that, contributing to that mission, and how do you feel the university is understanding that goal on our part to maintain our status and our significant presence, I would say, as part of Texas Tech.
And that is an excellent question, Peter. Thank you for that. I believe that there is no major comprehensive university, research university, that hasn't realized that the arts and creativity is at the source of also nurturing other disciplines. We very much, as part of the general education and core curriculum that we offer to all students at the university, most of the students have to go through our classrooms and be confronted with a creative paradigm. They have to be confronted with what's going to be new. And I think that when they take our courses in music, theater, arts, dance, they come to realize that there is any number of solutions that they can apply towards their native disciplines. At the end of the story, I think that the university and the universities these days need to maintain training students not for what's going to be their next job, but they need to maintain training students for what's going to be their last job.
Their eventual job, right?
Their eventual job, right. So incidentally, that constant across that continuum is going to be, how do we adapt to change? Today, as in this program, we're talking about AI. I don't know what we're going to be talking in 10 years or 20 years.
Right.
And the graduates who hold the degree from Texas Tech University are going to have to look back and say, the university trained me very well through creative thinking, through flexibility in the way in which we bring to the table for creating new solutions to all problems. It trained me very well to be flexible and to be adaptable to the new realities. And that's what we're trying to do, not only with our students in the arts, but with all the students that come across any disciplines and any degree at Texas Tech. Because again, through the core course and the general education courses in the arts, we show them a little snippet of what that can be.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You mentioned the core curriculum courses, and I actually teach one of those fairly often. And in my experience, and this was initially surprising in a good way, that we think of our art students, and those are the students we focus on, and those are going to be the ones that receive the training and have this creative mindset. But the non-majors that we engage with in these core courses, boy, they are there because they want to be there. And in some cases, I find just as much passion, maybe even some more passion in these endeavors from that population, because they don't have to do it. Maybe that's a way to put it. They don't have to. They're doing it by choice. And I firmly believe, as I'm sure you do, given what you were just saying, that if you're going off to be an accountant or a doctor or whatever, this side of your life makes you better at those things.
And I believe that when every one of our listeners examining himself or herself, they realize that there is always an affinity towards the arts, whether it's present at all moments or whether it's hidden. I really haven't found a person who has told me, well, I hate music, or I hate art, or I hate movies. There isn't such a thing. And it is because there is a human need for that element of creativity, that element of expression, that element that connects us as human beings. And so, yeah, you're right. When our students, whether they're going to be in professions that are non-art professions, come to our classrooms, they realize that they want to connect to that is part of the human nature, that part of creativity, that part of the artistic expression that they need to put out there. And the more that they are able to systematically identify it, the more that they're going to be able to put it in their own professions and feed from it.
Right. Yeah, totally agreed there. Well, it's been my pleasure to have you on the show today, talking with Dean Martin Camacho from the Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts, waxing a little detailed, but also a little philosophical on all things arts-related on campus and in the broader world that we live in today. So, Dean Camacho, thanks so much for appearing on the Art Beat, and we will have you back again.
It's a pleasure, and just an open invitation to everyone who's listening to us. We put together more than 500 events for the public here in Lubbock. You're all invited to come.
All right. Thanks much. Bye-bye. The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University.